Did you see the Pokemon presentation today? Yes, I did. And it went about exactly as I expected it would. I kind of hoped that they would have announced something for Gen 10, but I get it. I mean, Legends ZA hasn't even come out yet, so it doesn't look like they're going to maintain the trend of having a new generation every 3 years. It looks like we're going to have to wait till at least 2026 before we even get some kind of Gen 10 news. But yeah, Legends ZA is the main big thing that was at the Pokemon presentation today. And yeah, fans are unsurprisingly less than thrilled about it. Oh my god. I've never heard of this game before. So, first thing is that obviously it's not set in the past like we thought. It's kind of set in a near future, like post XYZ. And and here's the main thing people are pissed about. The starters. Legends Arceus was definitely creative with the starters, bringing a piece from the old generations and then kind of improving them a bit. And I'm glad they kept with that trend, but I think the starter selection is less than ideal. There's a number of problems, not just because they're lame. I don't think there's anything wrong with giving some I don't think there's anything wrong with giving some less than popular starter Pokemon a do-over, a second chance, but it's still just not that creative. The main problem, I'm just going to get it out of the way, is that there's two starters from Johto. And I know Johto probably has the most lackluster starter trio out of the three. There's definitely a number of problems with all of them. Cyndaquil got some love in Legends Arceus. And then you had the whole Typhlosion allegations, which brought it right back down to zero. But if I had to replace one of the starters, it would be Totodile. Because I don't think it's nearly as hated as Tepig and Chikorita. I think in terms of out of the three Johto starters, the Totodile to Feraligatr was probably had the right amount of love. And I think they probably needed to at least wait till another Legends game, like, a third game, before finally doing to Totodile. If I'm being honest, the only one I really like and would pick as of right now is Tepig. Because, well, a little bit of lore about me. It was my first starter. I started on Gen 5. I started what was arguably peak Pokemon, and I really enjoyed Tepig. Before I found out that he is probably the most hated fire starter for the simple reason that he was the third fire fighting starter in a row. So it makes sense that they're giving him a second chance. I don't know if they're going to do an alternate form or if they'll give him like a mega evolution that'll change his typing. But I think if they definitely do that, Emboar will get some love. Like even just going from firefighting to I think fire dark will definitely, or like fire ground from what I hear a lot of people talking, but I think that's a little too ambitious. You got to remember, Pokemon Company, they don't think as broadly as their fans. In fact, they openly admit that fans are often what holds back their own creativity because they would rather not listen to us. But yeah, Fire Dark, Fire Grounds, something different that isn't firefighting again, I think would automatically help boost Tepig and Emboar's popularity immensely. And the only amount of because the only positive thing I've ever heard anybody, the only positive compliment I've even heard an iota of people talk about when it comes to Tepig as a starter is it's shiny. Because shiny Emboar is actually a really cool. Like, you gotta love the blue flames. Like, it was a good design. Maybe not in the modern games, but you know, when it first came out, it was a really cool design. Especially since before, Blaziken and Infernape, they just kind of, they got darker. They just went with a darker red. Giving it this nice, cool blue flame, really, like, that looks awesome. But yeah, going on, Chikorita, she definitely needs some love. Probably the least popular grass starter. I don't think that's a hot take. Fun fact, I didn't even know she was supposed to be a dinosaur when she evolved into Meganium. But I definitely think, you know, giving her a second typing, or I don't know why I'm just automatically assuming gender bases. I think it's because in the anime, you know, Ash is Chikorita, which is probably the most positive Chikorita and Bayleaf I've ever seen. She's great in the anime, but in the games, less than ideal. I feel like Chikorita would benefit heavily from that second typing and a bit of a improved model. And then going back to Totodile and Feraligatr, I don't think there's really much I can think of right now that needs to be improved with them. Which is why I would just have swapped out Totodile with a different water starter. I would have just picked Poplio because you've got Johto and Unova. If you're gonna basically implement the same playbook as Legends Arceus, do Johto, Unova, and Alola, replace Totodile with Poplio. I think that is arguably a little bit more hated than Totodile. Giving that some love would help a bit. I'm not a Poplio hater. I really don't care how feminine it is. I just think that in terms of out of the three, you had a wrestler and an archerer. Those were way cooler than an opera singer. I definitely think Poplio was probably the least popular out of the Alola starters, and probably one of the most disliked water starters. I think Sobble is the worst water starter in my opinion, but Poplio could definitely use some love. I think switching Totodile with Poplio would have been much better. Because the only positive I can even think about that is that Primarina is a water fairy type, which is a good combination. I think I definitely think Chikorita should get that fairy type when she evolves into Meganium in the game. You know, grass fairy, dark, fire for dark and fire, and then because it's Totodile, I don't know. Maybe I could see like water ghost or maybe water poison because he is technically a reptile. But again, I'm probably thinking way too ambitious. I'm probably being way too ambitious. Yeah, so far it doesn't really look a whole lot different than the other modern Pokemon games we've got. Except for one detail that's coming up here, I think. Yep, this is it. Real-time dodging. They finally put in the most overpowered... Let me go back. Real-time dodges. They actually put in the most powerful move from the anime into the game, where you can actually just call out to your Pokemon, dodge the attack. Dodge it. Dodge it. It's not a gamble anymore. You could actually, like, strategize and have your Pokemon dodge an attack before you attack yourself. I think that is really good. And that's the only positive I could say from Legends ZA. It's only the first trailer, so there's still more to come. But yeah, it's definitely not looking as hype as You know, at least Legends Arceus. You know, Megas being back are cool, but they're the same old Megas. I would definitely love to see some new Megas. That'd be great, but once again, that's kinda ambitious for right now. I know we probably weren't gonna see any of that in the first trailer. Though, one thing I am surprised about is how they didn't milk Froakie and Greninja again. Because if you had asked me what starter I thought would be in the Legends ZA trio, I would have actually put down a crisp 100 that they would have used Froakie. And I know they didn't do that for Legends Arceus, but you have to understand, not only is Froakie one of the most popular starters, but Greninja, its evolution, is one of the most popular Pokemon of all time. Not just in Gen 6. Like, the amount of love Greninja has gotten is ridiculous. And Nintendo knows this. It is still one of their most marketable Pokemon. So I'm actually surprised there's not even Greninja in this trailer. I really thought if they would have at least put that in, because then you'd have like just the actual baby brain Pokemon fans go, "Yeah! Legends Arceus! Greninja! Woo!" Like, I feel like that would have automatically increased its viewership to at least another 100,000. But overall, there's still time to see. Maybe this game will completely reinvent Pokemon. I doubt it, but a man can dream.